Welcome to the spawn point. Loading is now complete. Here's your host, Nick.
Hey everybody, welcome to the official premiere episode of The Spawn Point, powered by Artesian Builds. I'm your host, Senpai Nick. Don't forget to check us out with new YouTube videos dropping every Tuesday and the audio episodes dropping on iTunes and Spotify every Wednesday. We've got a great premiere episode coming up. We got Nathan, aka Five from Pride, as well as Darius from Respawn Products to talk The Mandalorian. Let's dive right in. All right, let's go ahead and welcome our first official guest to the Spawn Point. You guys know him, you love him, from Synergy, owner of Pride. Welcome, Five. Nathan, thank you so much for coming on the show. How's it going, bro?
Hey, dude, I'm doing amazing. I had my coffee. I got a haircut this morning. It's been a good day so far.
That is the best way to start it, dude. Fresh cut is like the
Right?
best.
It's just like a clean feeling.
Oh, it is. I'm luckier than most. My wife, girlfriend, baby mama, whatever you want to call her, she went to school for like beautician haircutting before she did her current career. So it's like I get a fresh haircut every week, maybe twice a week if I'm lucky. Okay. Like in-house, dude. Don't have to pay. It's a blessing. That
saves so much. Like I spend $40 a month on haircuts basically, because like I have to have my hair like a certain standard. So yeah, it's like it gets spendy, but yeah, dude, that's such like a blessing, just like having that resource that saves a lot of money.
Yeah, dude, it's
perfect.
It just gets turned around on like Pokemon cards. It's not like I'm saving money.
Oh yeah, I mean you're saving money. I mean technically you could get that back if you get like a good Pokemon card. Yeah,
that would be nice. Not yet. I just had the worst pulls, man. Like it's so bad. I keep watching all my friends get these great cards, and I got nothing.
I know. One of my buddies got like a he got like the rainbow VMAX Pikachu, and it's like I got the regular one, so I'm like, dude, let me trade.
Yeah, I was actually watching the stream where you got that one. I was so psyched.
Yeah, that was definitely, I don't know. It's like addicting. I was talking to somebody, and it's like it's kind of like wholesome gambling a little bit.
Oh,
because there's definitely like there's like a I don't know, a like economy to Pokemon cards. So it's like okay, like if you pull this, like you can like turn your money around, but if you don't, then you have some cool art.
Exactly. Somebody the other day like directly compared it to playing like 5-card. Like you're just waiting for that last flop, and it because it's right at the end when you're going through your cards too. It's like one of the last cards you're gonna pull. It's very much like poker because it's make or break on that last card flip.
Exactly. I like what they did with the Vivid Voltage though. They brought out like the amazing rares, so like you can get an amazing rare and a like a full art card. So that's kind of cool. Where it's not like just that like one card per deck. It's like you could get two potentially.
Yeah, and it's at least for me, I'm way more into like the art of the cards too. There's a lot of cards I'll get psyched about just because of how cool they look, but they're only worth like 80 cents.
Yeah. I opened up a couple Evolutions packs, like the ones from 2016, and they have their secret rares have like that specialized art that's like it looks like a kid drew it. But like it's just like really cool just to like look at. Like it doesn't really have a lot of value, even though it is like a little bit more rare. But it's just like nice.
Yep. Yeah. Surfing Pikachu is like one of my favorite cards.
Yep. Yeah.
Worth nothing, beautiful. But it's like I instantly put it in a plastic. I was like, you're my baby now.
Yeah. You're here forever.
So just like us to get sidetracked right away, circling back to the beginning of things.
That's okay.
Just want to, I guess I would call us friends. I know a lot about you, but the greater community might not. Let's just get to know you a little better. Just tell us the basics. Where are you from? What do you do when you're not streaming? What is the life of Nathan all about?
I mean, so I live in Kansas right now. I'm from Oregon. I've lived here for 4 years almost. It's really close to 4 years. I think later in 2021. When I'm not streaming, I am like doing stuff for Pride or like working on stuff for my stream. And also like my day job is I'm a firefighter, so I do that. That's my full-time job. So like technically streaming is my full my part-time baby. But yeah, firefighting is kind of what I do for an income.
That's awesome.
Right
so I was going to follow up and ask if you were a volunteer or full-time. My dad was a firefighter on a military
Oh
base
shoot.
for like 35 years. So like
Heck yeah.
that's
That's
I
crazy.
get excited whenever I meet firefighters. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Doing it on a
what
military base is cool too. It's
do
definitely
you
like
do it on a
different-
military base, or are you like
Yeah.
a normal?
Yeah, I do it on a military base.
Oh, that's so cool. So is that why you're in Kansas?
Yeah, I definitely did not choose to be here. Coming from Oregon, if you don't know, if you don't know, Oregon has like really great nature, like mountains, like trees, and
Beautiful.
Kansas is the opposite. It's not that. If you live in Kansas, I'm sorry, but it's true.
It's not the way of it's.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a bad place, but dude, Oregon's one of my favorite places. I love Portland.
Yeah.
Driving
it's beautiful
through the state, going from California to Washington
Exactly.
is so gorgeous.
Yes, I was there in the fall, like a month ago. All the leaves were turning like orange and stuff, and it was like just driving was like looking at like a wallpaper, like a PC wallpaper. It was beautiful. Yeah.
So big Ducks fan.
Yes. Yeah.
Attaboy.
100%. Yeah.
That's definitely my like obviously I'm a Badgers fan like to the core, but if I had to pick like one other team that I've loved since I was a kid, definitely Oregon. And I'm not even like ashamed to say it's 100% the uniforms. Like that is 100% what drew me in.
The uniforms, they're beautiful. It's always been like that's been like the culture, like a different uniform every week. Like it's really cool. It's really cool. But yeah, dude, Russell Wilson.
Yes,
I love
that's
guy.
my boy.
He's my boy too. I love him because I'm a Seahawks fan too. Because
Good.
That's all I have. But yeah,
yeah, you guys have no pro sports there.
nope, none. I think they're trying to get a baseball team. Like they're like petitioning for it. Like, and I think they're trying to like find the land. But not yet.
Yeah.
Oh, well, actually, they do have soccer, MLS. Yeah.
But it's not even a good team.
Yeah, they're mediocre. Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
You're right. Okay. No pro sports teams.
We don't count them.
We don't count them. Yeah, they're not real.
So let's backtrack. In the beginning,
Yeah.
I'm assuming most of us all came from like enjoying video games and sort of evolved into the streaming community. But what kind of got you not even started with streaming, but what caught your eye and got you interested in watching other streamers and sort of built you up to getting into streaming?
Yeah, I actually had like no like I'd heard about Twitch and stuff, and I kind of knew that was the main platform, and like I'd heard of like Ninja and like all of those like huge streamers, so like I kind of see them in passing. And then my girlfriend started streaming. Well, she was my girlfriend at the time. She was just a friend. She started streaming, and she was like, hey, like come to my stream, and I like came to one stream. I was like, oh, this is fun. Like I get to talk to other people. I get to watch her play video games, and like it was a good time. So then like I started coming like every stream, and then I like met her community, and like I started going to their streams, and like I became a mod in everybody's chats, and eventually I don't know, I just kind of I was like, I could do this. Like I could do this. And so she bought my girlfriend, she bought me a PS4 because it's a little bit easier to stream off of a PS4. And then I bought a camera, I got like a monitor and a mic, and yeah, I just started going for it.
So how long ago was that?
That was in June of 2019. So like a year and a half ago now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So that's I mean, let's call that a year and a half, I guess, more or less. Yeah. That's incredible growth, my friend. To reach like the level you've hit. Crazy. Yeah, it's
definitely been, especially in the last like 8 months, I think has like that's when like most of it's happened. Cause like the first like 6 to 8 months, basically, it was just mostly me just streaming to like that same community that I had built up with her, and I kind of didn't have more of a direction than that. So I was just like tweeting and I was streaming, and that was my whole community building. And so like I really didn't have like a good direction for those first couple months. So like a lot of like my growth and like the things I've accomplished have come like in the last like 8 months.
Well, and I mean that's way more impressive even then. I know, it's weird that for me, probably not for you, but I'm a lot older than a lot of the people that I interact with in the community regularly.
Yeah.
And so
that's fair.
It always feels weird saying I look up to someone that I'm like 8 to 10 years older than, but it's like, I've had 3 Twitter accounts now. So I don't know if you remember, but I've been following you since like April. Sergeant Pepe was my first account. And like instantly, like you were someone that I totally like just latched onto. I was like, I really look up to
Yeah.
this guy. And then I found out how old you were, and I was like, I feel weird looking up to someone like so much younger than me, but you're so professional, you carry yourself so well, and the genuine interactions with your community, I think more than anything, are what really drew me in and made me say, like, this is something I need to focus more on. I need to be more genuine with the people I interact with. I need to try harder to reply to the people that talk to me on Twitter. And I know for you, it's got to get out of hand, and it's not easy to reply to everyone, but it's something I really respect about you so much. And I've seen since your big growth this spring, like I've seen you really try to keep up with that, and like, kudos, dude. Like, you do such a good job.
I try my best. It's definitely kind of going back to what you said before, like but before I like move on, that's kind of something that's really unique about like content creation, is like it doesn't really matter how old you are, like you can like I could be looking up to somebody like way younger than me, and like you're like you said you like look up to me, and like I feel like that's like super unique, because like in any other space like that's kind of like rare, like that's a very unique like dynamic, I guess, because like usually like the older person, like it always like takes seniority and like kind of takes on like that lead, like the kind of like that role of like somebody that's like looked up to. And I don't know, I don't know, that just seems really like that's interesting for me to like see, because like I definitely agree, I see that all the time, and like I look up to people that are younger than me because they're like wildly successful, and like they have something that like is special. But yeah, and like and moving back into like keeping up with messages, it's definitely a challenge for sure, and I feel so bad, and like some people like they seriously like get upset at me, and like that's probably the biggest like mental health challenge that I have to hurdle, because like they're like, oh, like you have an ego now, or like oh, you've been egoing me, like because you won't respond to my messages. And like I literally like feel like I have to send them like what my messages look like for them to be like, oh, like okay, you're right. I wouldn't be able to either, because it's definitely
That's a bummer though. Like, I feel like you should never have to show someone like, hey, I'm literally so busy, like that's why. Like,
it's unfortunate, but
I mean, you can just see your interactions and you can tell how busy you are. It doesn't take a lot of rocket science, you know.
I mean, I don't know, some people like they think the world revolves around them, and like that's what they're about, but yeah,
I guess.
it's definitely, that's like the biggest hurdle, and like the biggest like, I don't know, like the biggest like downer about stuff is that like people get like angry with you for like just trying to like manage everything. And like looking farther down the road, like I'm kind of worried like how I'm gonna be like have to handle that, because like I don't know, I've always the reason that like I struggle with it is because like I've always, my goal as a creator is to always like make connections as much as possible, and like make everybody feel welcome, and like do my best to like make everybody feel seen, because like that's the way I've always wanted to feel. So like I kind of want to put that back out, but like the bigger, like the more people that are like attracted to that, like the harder it is to like accomplish it. So it's definitely like kind of a transition piece that I have to like figure out how to do.
That's so I was gonna ask you this a little later, but I think this is a really good opportunity, given that can cause so much anxiety for anybody, you know, especially like even if you don't deal with anxiety or depression. How do you set yourself up, or what do you do to make sure your mental health is in a good spot when you do get into those situations where you have 50 some DMs and you don't even really know where to start?
Yeah, I definitely like have to be good about taking a step back and like being honest with myself. I'm like, okay, like I'm starting to feel like tired, and like I just can't respond, like, and then sometimes I don't get back to them, and sometimes I do, like depending on how important their message is. If they're like, hey, can I join Pride, I probably won't respond to them unless I have like a free moment. But like if it's somebody like you, like we're trying to set up like a meeting and we're trying to like accomplish something together, or it's somebody that like I've connected really well with and like I just appreciate them, and they're not just trying to like use me for something, I'm definitely much more likely to respond. But yeah, I don't know, I just really have to be honest with myself and like take a step back, and I'm not the best at it. Like I'd like burn myself out like daily, but yeah, it's just all about being honest with yourself and like what you can manage.
Yeah, and I think in the streamer community we see so much, especially with I guess with grinders maybe. You
Yeah.
go so hard for something for so long that like by the time you hit that goal and get what you wanted and you achieve success, then you're
Yeah.
like all burned out and have to take a break, and
Yeah.
it can really
100%.
set you back. And luckily, like I haven't really hit that pitfall yet, but I've seen it
Mhm.
happen with way too many people, and I feel terrible because you can just watch them burning out slowly,
Yeah.
but you maybe not, you might not be the best of friends. I struggle to reach out to people that I feel like I'm in that middle ground with, like we know each
Mhm.
other, we're on a level where we don't think we're using each other, but we not might not be like really good friends yet. And it's
Yeah.
like you can kind of just see the train wreck about to happen, and it's like I always feel so bad because I
Yeah.
personally don't know what to do to help others try to like get past that, because it's you feel bad.
It's
I've
tough.
seen so many people just completely fall out of the scene that I was really big fans of.
Yeah. Like just because like they were trying so hard to reach a goal and like they didn't take time for themselves and like by the time they got there they're like they couldn't like manage it anymore and then so they got to their goal but like at what cost, you know? And I don't know. And something that like I've kind of learned is like if you see those people, like you can't save everybody, and that's kind of like tough because it's like you want to, like you see people like struggling and going through stuff, but at the same time if if you're doing like that at the cost of yourself, like what's the point, you know? And it's just really tough to like find that balance.
Yeah, and I think that's something we're all striving to. And it would be so great if
Yeah.
someone could just come out with a roadmap and be like, hey,
I
if you're
know.
at this many followers and this many viewers, this is how you stay sane. It would be
Yeah,
great, because I think we all struggle with
exactly.
that a little bit.
Mhm.
Speaking
Yeah.
of struggles, in the early going, or maybe even now, what are some roadblocks or hurdles that you've hit that you maybe struggled with a little more, or thought you were never
Mhm.
going to get over? And what did you do to actually like get past that roadblock?
Honestly, time management has always been like the bane of my existence because like I have a girlfriend, like we live together. I have two dogs. So like making sure that like I spend enough time with them, making sure that I'm doing enough on stream to like still continue to be successful and like doing work. So like time management has always been something that is very like hard for me because like I want to do so much but like I can't and like I overextended myself. And kind of what I do to combat that is like I definitely have to listen to my girlfriend. I honestly I don't do it as much as I should, but like she definitely helps rein me in because like she can see like stuff that I can't, so she's like, okay, like hey, I see you're overextending yourself a little bit, or like you're not spending enough time with me, which is fair. And like I definitely have to like listen to the people outside of me that can kind of like see what's going on when even I can't. And that's kind of the biggest solution that I found so far. But I'm sure there's something like better out there. I just haven't
That's
found
huge.
it yet.
You hit on a really big one. I think communication is huge.
Mhm. Yeah.
I had to sit down with
Yes.
Alyssa and I just had to be like, look, our schedules are kind of in flux a lot.
Yeah.
What days can we set that I can focus on this stuff, and then what days can we like focus on family stuff? And
Mhm.
it's I basically just kind of tried to
Yeah.
build my schedule more around what she needed when we get home from work, things
Yeah.
like that. And then obviously like with a kid, my situation is a little different, but
Mhm.
you hit on a really big one, and it's listening to the people around you.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky to have a good communication set that you guys can just get it right out in the open, I think that's best. But sometimes you
Yes.
just have to take
Exactly.
like the cues from the people around you. They might not be able
Yeah.
to tell you flat out, hey, you're not spending enough time with me. Hey, you're not paying enough time to the chores around the house. They might
Yeah.
just be like, oh, this house is a mess. Like you just got to be ready to pick up on that, you know? It's
Exactly.
it's hard.
Exactly. It's just like being good at listening and also being good at like asking like, hey, like what can I be
Hmm.
doing better? Or like do I need to be doing this less or this more? When I first started streaming was when my girlfriend first moved here or we moved in together. And that was like a really big like clashing point because she streams and stuff too. So she definitely like understands, but like that was like when I was putting like 8 hours a day or like night at that point into streaming and like because I didn't understand that like less is more sometimes.
Yep.
And like I was just like pounding as much time as I could into streaming and like she had just moved here and like she was like why'd I move here like you know. So it was definitely at first was like a huge like struggle and like I had a tough time like communicating like I wasn't willing to listen as much as I am now because I was like like I have this new person here, like, and I have to manage my time around you, like what? But yeah, it's definitely come a long way in that sense.
And I think too, being honest with yourself, it it can be so hard to see those interactions on Twitter or see that your chat is blowing up or that you're,
Mhm.
suddenly you went from 10 to 20 concurrent viewers regularly. Like, I
Yeah,
think we all can get a little ego from that from time to time. No, if you're gonna be
100%.
honest, like it feels
Yeah,
good.
it feels good. Yeah,
But being
it feels
honest with
nice.
yourself and saying like I am not doing as well in this area, or I need to limit this so I can focus on this. I don't think a lot of people, especially early on, realize that the 8 to 10 hour stream every single day is not the grind to success that they think it's going to be. Like,
Yeah,
less is
exactly.
definitely more.
And like but it feels right, you know? It's like okay, like if I put more time into something, like more people will come watch, you know?
Yeah.
And like that's how it is for like most things, but like content creation is like this unique like beast that is like takes like a lot more like insight and thought than like most other like career paths. I'm not sorry, I don't know why I did that. It's definitely it's a valid career path, but like like for me right now it's not a like a career path. It has to be. It's like a forced hobby.
Yep. I
But
mean, that's how
yeah,
I took it when you did the air quotes, because I do
yeah.
that a lot too. Like
I
I
just didn't want to offend somebody, you
yeah,
know,
exactly.
just in case they're like, but I'm a full time content creator.
Yes, and that's great. And I'm really happy for you. It's
Yeah,
just like, I'm being honest with myself. Like, I don't think
yeah,
that's a realistic goal, especially with the day
yeah.
job that I have. It's a good place. I
Exactly.
don't want to give that up.
Yeah,
No, I hit like,
yeah,
doctor levels, then like maybe,
yeah,
you get me on that
yeah.
ninja level and like,
Exactly.
sure, like this is my day job
Yeah, no,
now.
100%. Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah. I'm a
I'm done
full-time
with
streamer.
firefighting.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy like how like financial like obviously like it feels like really vain to like worry about the financials of streaming, but it's so crazy how how big like the financial gap is like like how quickly like you can move into that like next tier because like some people like have a tough time hitting payout and then there's like a little overhead from that, but then I feel like once you get to gaining traction like it can move up like very very quickly, and like it's crazy like seeing all of these it's like the gold rush, you know, it's you see all these like huge creators and they're like easily making more than like I've made in the past 4 years of working, and it's like oh shoot, like it's a huge draw.
Yeah, it really is. And I think like for me, the like even just considering like, oh wow, what if
Mm,
I ever got to that level?
yeah,
Immediately I start to think about like, oh, but what do they do about insurance? And like, what if they like
exactly,
couldn't stream for a month and like income just fell off? Or like, what if their
exactly.
main sponsor goes out of business? Like, there has to be this like low level laying of anxiety with that, no
Hmm.
matter how
Yeah, always,
good you are. And that freaks me
always.
out.
Yeah, and it's like yeah, if something crazy happened or like you just yeah you got sick for a month and like half your community left and half your income left along with it, it's like oof, like it gives like it's crazy how like dependent you become on like your community to support you, which is like that which like you basically put your life in the hands of others.
Yeah, you really do. And just talking about it, I'm getting just a little bit like that prickly on the back of my neck anxiety, but
Yeah.
it's something I don't know. There's very few jobs or careers or even hobbies, I guess, where you're like constantly really, really worried about what everyone else thinks of you. When I was
Yeah,
16 and
exactly.
video games were my hobby, I didn't care what anyone in the lobby thought of me. Like, I was just there to play games. And it's
Mhm,
like a completely different story now.
exactly. Especially like with like cancel culture and stuff. Like if
Oh, yeah.
like especially like even if you're in a like just a random like Call of Duty lobby or something like and you say something crazy, like people can find you really quickly and like you so like you definitely have to be aware of like who you are like all the time.
Yeah.
Which I mean is good, but also like still.
It is. I mean, I guess it kind of depends on how you use that ability.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
I think it can make you a better, well-rounded person and like a
Yeah.
more giving and more communal person if you're aware
Mhm.
of what you're saying and what you're doing. But it
Yeah.
also could just give people like a mask and they could still just be a shitty person, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Like you can always like tell too. Like I don't know. Like I don't know. I have really good like
Hmm.
I don't know. Like I get a good aura off of people usually. Like if somebody's being like super fake, I'm like okay, like I can tell. But
Yeah.
or if like they're super genuine, like I can tell that too.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like, I guess I have like years in customer service or what it is, but I have a
Yeah.
really good, even on social media, like I can usually tell pretty quick like this person just has an agenda, which like fine, whatever. Use me if
Yeah.
you need to. It's I don't have much to offer, so it's for me it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So looking at because you are an org owner, because you are a
Hmm.
streamer for Synergy, like one of the
Mm.
biggest. I always call it a tier 2 org, and I like offended some
Yeah.
people when I say that, but I guess like I mean that as a compliment. I mean that as like that is the tip
Yeah.
toppest tier that isn't phase basically.
Yeah, it's definitely like up there with like the obey like that.
Yeah,
It's not necessarily like a full on like organization yet, but like it's definitely like it's operating similar, very similar to one.
yeah, absolutely. I put like Synergy and Obey and like
Hmm.
maybe Oxygen Supremacy before they went out. Like I put them like at another level above like most of the
Hmm.
other, like Twitter orgs, quote unquote, as some people call them.
Yeah.
But that's like respect, dude.
Hmm.
Backtracking, you and I are so good at doing this. Like we just go off on tangents.
That's all right.
But like you have such a unique perspective, having worked hard and achieved becoming a member of Synergy. You
Hmm.
have achieved so much becoming a owner of Pride,
Hmm.
and everything you did within Pride just as a member was very respectable. What
Hmm.
are some tips as someone that has that unique perspective as owner and creator that you could give to some beginners, that are like really big things that they should just avoid, the things that we just talked about earlier, the 8 hour stream, the things
Yeah.
we all did at the beginning that we thought would help? What are some things that
Yeah.
maybe they could just skip right past that would help them hit the ground running faster?
Yeah. I think honestly, it just like being very like I know like it's really cool to be on teams. And like I don't know, I feel kind of hypocritical, but like honestly, like don't like chase like organizations because like a mistake a lot of like small streamers make, like including myself sometimes, like is they prioritize the team's brand before themselves because they're like, okay, like the team in turn will give me that growth back, and it doesn't always work that way. Like even like ones that are super like good and like supportive and stuff, like you don't always necessarily get that like brand promotion back. So like definitely, especially if like you're grinding for an organization, you're not a part of it yet. Like I don't know. I would find a team that is okay with you prioritizing yourself. Because like if a team is asking you to prioritize your or their brand over your own, like that is very fishy. Like I would never ask anybody that's like grinding for Pride to like prioritize like our brand over their own because I want to see them be successful. Because the more successful they are, the more likely they are to get into Pride and stuff. So definitely like focus on your own brand and focus on improving yourself, and then look to join teams. Because like so I grinded for North. That was like the first like really prominent organization that I joined, and I grinded for like 2 weeks. And then I got in because I very quickly like when I first started grinding, I definitely was not like up to standards. Like I had some good energy, I had some like good aspects, but I wasn't there. And I kind of like found somebody that was willing to help, and they kind of gave me some insight, and I made those changes, and like I got picked up like instantly because like I focused really well on myself. And then they were like, hey, like we like you. And it was the same thing for Synergy. Like I did the RC that they had, the recruitment challenge, if for those of you who don't know. And like I ended up like started grinding right before that, and I ended up winning that. So it's really all about like personal development, like no matter how like far up the ladder you make it. So like focus on yourself, honestly. Like teams are really cool, but find ones that are okay like with you being yourself in. Like don't change yourself for anybody. Unless it's like a good thing. Unless it's a good thing. Then definitely change yourself for everybody.
Yeah, that's.
uh
I'm glad
yeah.
you touched on that though, because I've seen so many people in this community that I care about and I love their content, but
Yeah.
they start grinding for an org, and their entire content becomes about that org, and
Yes. Yeah.
then they, maybe it doesn't work out, maybe it just turned out to be not the org they were looking
Yeah.
for, whatever. Now they have all this content that they either have to delete or it just awkwardly sits there because it's
Exactly.
branded with that org. It's
Exactly.
it's
And
never
like where
set
you
straight
what are
with
you
me.
left with?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like what are you left with? Because like most of the time when I left North, like a lot of the community that like I had, like the time when I was in North, like that was like some of my best like stream statistics. that time, and like I left, and like instantly it just like dropped. I was like, dang, like that's terrible. That sucks. Like I never want to feel like that again. So I made sure to like when I was grinding for synergy, like I definitely like expressed that I was interested, but I was all about like still building my own community and making like genuine connections with people and not just trying to build off of synergy's growth. Cause like being a part of the team is amazing. Like I'm surrounded with a bunch of like creators that are super, super talented. And I feel like that's like
Mm-hmm.
the best thing about being in synergy and pride. Um, but like I have always like I don't rely on them to build my community for me. You know, I've built it for myself, and like whatever they add to the equation is just like the cherry on top. But like I do it all for myself, and they just like bring the extra, you know, and that's how I feel like it should be. You might like some people might disagree, but like that I feel like that leaves you like no matter what happens, like if the org ends or like if they end up like you end up parting ways, like you still have yourself, you know, and like you won't lose your community after that because you're still you.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. And I think that's why, like, at least personally, I've always been reluctant to do a lot of collaborations. Because
Mhm.
I don't want that short term community. I
Yeah.
don't, it hurts when you lose a community member. Like,
Yeah.
you know, even losing
Absolutely.
one person that you knew was there a lot and all of a sudden they're not, that hurts. So to lose like
Yeah.
a whole chunk when you leave a team or anything like
Yeah.
that, like, I'm not a big fan of it, honestly. So I
Mhm.
think that's really, really good advice. Work on
Yeah.
yourself, build up that brand so that no matter where you go, that group of people is going to come with you and just keep growing.
Yeah. Because like as a small streamer, you want to do everything you can to grow, and like a team is it looks like it's like it looks like a quick track to like getting, you know, getting like better viewers and stuff. But like the thing you have to remember is like the people that are in that team like have already like accomplished like getting into that team. You know, they're already at where you want to be at. So like obviously they're gonna have better numbers and stuff, but like that doesn't necessarily means it comes from just being in the team. So yeah, definitely focusing on yourself and being you and not like you with the team on top of you.
All right, cool. Yeah, no, thank you so much. You're officially the first guest. I appreciate it so much, man, from the
Yeah,
bottom of my
heck
heart. Thank
yes,
you so much for coming on. We're definitely going to have you back on again.
absolutely. I'd love to come back in a little bit.
All right, cool.
100%.
Everybody check out Five on the socials that have been scrolling the whole time. Make sure you follow him on Twitch. Watch his streams. They're lit. Thank you, buddy. You have an awesome day.
Hey, have a good one, dude. Thank you.
The Spawn Point is powered by Artesian Builds. Visit them online for your next streaming, gaming, or editing PC, and then watch them build it live on stream. Check out the link in the episode description and use code NICK at checkout for additional savings. Now, let's get back to the show. All right, welcome back, guys. We are joined now by social media guy, Lord Degavor Darius. You know him by a ton of names, the social media guy for Respawn. Hella knowledge on Star Wars. Thank you so much for coming on the show, bro. How's it going?
Hey, how you doing? It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited about this, fam. I've been literally waiting all week.
Yeah, I know. Me too. As soon as I watched that episode, I was like, I have so much to ask him now. Before we jump to the Star Wars stuff, just really quick, you know, obviously our biggest connection is Respawn. I was Respawn
Yep.
Recruits. You were the social media guy that everybody knows and loves.
Mhm.
How did you find the company in the first place?
Yeah, so if those of you that don't know me, I actually have a lot of esports background. I was a competitive player, I was a host, I was a social media guy for a lot of organizations. And when I was looking for an actual job, a paying job, which is kind of hard to come by in the esports domain, I looked on Hitmarker Jobs. And Hitmarker Jobs is a very good foundry of just looking for things for esports, any type of stuff to do with esports or gaming in general.
Yeah.
And I found Respawn products, so I hooked them up with my cover letter, resume, and it was kind of like it was just. I don't want to say it was meant to be because there was some competition to get that, but as soon as Alex, the marketing manager, Alex, the big guy, big boss, as soon as we got an interview, I think that it was pretty much in the work. So
Yeah, Alex is great, and you right from the rip, you seemed like a really good fit with everybody. So it's like it was a good job. I love Hitmarker. I'm not even looking for a job, and I scroll through
Yeah.
Hitmarker constantly. There's so many good jobs on there.
It's insane. I feels really sad because I feel like as good as Hitmarker is, it's still not known enough, and there's so
Mhm.
many kids especially in this day, I'm 30, and there's so many kids coming out of high school, so many kids coming out of college, and they're looking for that. I want to be working with gaming. I want to be working with esports. And Hitmarker is that place. Even if you're not looking for a paying job, you want some type of experience, you could
Oh
probably
yeah.
nail an intern job, and that Hitmarker is that place.
Yeah, and I like how they rank the jobs. They
Oh yeah,
straight up tell you, they're like, this is super entry level. This is if you've had
yeah,
this much experience. So you can kind of filter out the stuff that you're like, okay, I don't qualify for that at all.
absolutely, yeah, completely. It's a great site.
So I guess for me with Respawn, it's been about 6 months, probably about the same for you.
So Respawn, I've actually been working. Oh man, I want to say it's gonna be 2 years soon. I think
Wow,
in
really?
yeah, yeah, in April of next year it's gonna be 2 years,
Oh
which is
wow.
crazy because yeah, with all the other organizations that I work with in the domain of esports, I literally have only been there for maybe a year tops. A lot of the organizations dissolved. They ran out of money. Just things happen. But Respawn has been that one career choice where I was so excited, and it's just been working and working.
That's awesome because I know that they did like a big reveal, like Alex was stepping aside and you were taking on like a bigger role. So like honestly, I thought that's when you got hired. That's so cool that you've been around for so long. So you
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
lot better experience than what this huge growth this last year, this last 12,
Mhm.
16 months. What has that been like on the inside?
It's a beautiful thing, honestly, because if you look, I mean, if you've been following Respawn products for at least 2 years, at least the time that I've been around, I want to say you're so familiar with brands like DX Racer, Vertigear. You
Hmm.
got Steel Series, you got Corsair, you got all these pretty big entities that are inside the domain of esports that are inside just these organizations in gaming and things like that. But I feel like a lot of them, not Steel Series, because Steel Series is awesome. I love that social media guy. But there's a lot of them that are robotic. That
Yeah.
are very like corporate heavy, and I feel like that's a huge disadvantage for a lot of those companies. And when it comes to Respawn products, I think one of the reasons why we've grown, because Alex has been just so amazing with partnerships. He really has. I personally feel like he's the best in the business at understanding what works and what doesn't. And that's from like a voice of social media. That's from a voice of like esports and teams and things like that. Growing partners, all these beautiful things. Because social media is complex, because you have to adapt what is happening now, and then you have the ability of foresight where you need to understand what's changing, what's going to be good in a year, what's not going to be good, and I feel like that's ultimately the greatest thing that we have because we just brought on James, our partnership manager.
Yep. Great guy.
Yeah, really awesome, very intellectual. He's I'm so happy he's on the team because now Alex's job is much easier.
Yeah.
My job is much easier, and I feel like it's just another layer, another depth of of our success because we're all like kind of on the same page here. We're all working together. Our chemistry is really, really good. And I feel like come 2021, we've done so much in these past 2 years. I think it's going to be even better. Straight up, I think it's going to be so much better. Hopefully, with COVID and everything that goes around, it'll be a little bit more controlled because, we want events. We want to go to esports stuff. We want to go around
Hmm.
and meet people, meet our partners. That wasn't, obviously, that wasn't able to happen because of what happened with the pandemic. But hopefully 2021, cross our fingers, things work, and I think it's going to be even better year for 2021.
Yeah, I'm excited. The trajectory of this company is just insane, and it's something that's been in like just random Facebook ads and on my Instagram for probably
Yeah,
2 years, at least a year
yeah,
in my memory now,
mm,
because I've had my 110 I've had for almost a year. So
yeah,
and it was literally the social I guess it was the social person and the
probably.
ads that totally sold me on it. And it's you never get that feel with a lot of other companies. I don't even want to single out chair companies. There's so many peripheral companies out there that they just don't feel like there's a human on the other side. You don't get any
No,
natural
mm-mm,
reactions. And I'm
no,
just always drawn to the companies that I can get that from, I guess.
yeah, 100%. And it's not just you know like gaming companies. I feel like
Yep.
it's just corporate companies. They're just always like that. Wendy's does a really good job because they're like controller fake. I mean, I can tell you all these partners that I interact with every single day that aren't afraid to go out there and just literally reply. And you see it every single day. I'm replying to people who follow us, people who don't follow us. Entities, partners, big, small, doesn't matter. And that's on all faces: Instagram, TikTok. And I just really feel like so many other companies, if they just kind of detached from their corporate vibe and allowed someone who kind of understood, kind of like Alex does, kind of like I do, and then interact with their following just a bit more to give a voice or a face, I think a lot more companies would be largely successful.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where like I don't think I've ever worried about, and I'm sure Alex probably doesn't too, like you guys crossing some sort of imaginary line and like advertising
Yeah.
in a way that's bad. Your interactions are so natural, but they're also
Yeah.
like they're keeping that corporate whitewash, so to speak. I know that's not the right term
Yeah.
for it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. I
you're not
got
in
it,
trouble
yeah.
of doing anything bad, and that's great.
Right.
But
Yeah.
the way you guys
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
way
go
you
on,
guys
go on.
do strategize, and I know it's a team effort staying on top of it, but
Mhm.
when something pops off really good, obviously, write that one down. That was a great strategy. But like,
Yeah.
sometimes you're just going to strike out. You're going to get that tweet that only gets like 20 likes.
Oh yeah.
What happens when you guys do that? Like, how do you bounce back from that?
So in the beginning, about 2 years ago, when I first started, we didn't really have a following. I think we were below 5,000 followers on Twitter. Instagram, all that stuff, kind of built its way from our Twitter. August last year, that's when we hit 10K. And we're almost at 50K followers this year. So that's huge growth. But there are things that I really like to do. Interaction was the main thing. And we couldn't do that back then. I mean, I would tweet stuff out. I have all these really good ideas. I'd make GIFs and all these stuff. And I would tweet something out and it would just be like 6 likes, 7 likes. I'm like, that's a terrible thing for a company, who's trying to get up and make their way, with their products and everything. But as time goes on, we had Respawn Recruits, which was a huge success for this year. And I can't wait for next year. But then you have partners. And I feel like the biggest thing, the most important thing, that you can have all the money in the world, you can have all these great ideas, but if no one is seeing your content, if no one is out there to interact with, then it doesn't matter. You ultimately have no followers, you have no community. And I think that's the biggest thing that we have is we do have a community. We have Discord members of almost 4,000 right now. And that just took a while to build with our partnerships, our interaction, our little contests, giveaways, things like that. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that big source, that thing that was branching off was the social media, the Twitter, kind of going on and interacting, replying to people like you, just to make them feel like they have somebody. And I think that's the most beautiful thing, because 2 years ago, we couldn't do that. We couldn't really do that into a little bit of last year as well. But it's been just slowly just organic and growing. And every single year, every single thing that goes on, it's just going to get better and better.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to see. Kudos to all you guys. You're doing a wonderful job. Please keep it up, because I like this partnership a lot. It's my favorite one. I don't want to lose it.
Yeah, same. I mean, every single day I wake up and it's a job, but it doesn't feel like a job because it's super fun. And there's some days that are like really stressful. Last, I think it was like 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago,
we had that
yeah.
issue with the codes. And that was not a fun day to be a social media guy. That was not a fun day to be Alex. But you just take those, you take that, it's kind of like what Rocky said, it's not about how hard you can hit, it's how much you could get hit and keep going. And I feel like that's a really big thing when it comes to social media, like, hey guys, we messed up, but at the end of the day, we're going to do what we can to help you out, still be real, be transparent, and, make some really good heckin' chairs and desks, bro, and I think that ultimately is I don't know, I think that's the best thing, because at the end of the day, if we didn't have good products, ain't nobody would be listening to my tweets, fam.
Nope. No, and I think that is the best foundation, is that you have these really great products that, sure, people might buy in because of the personality, but they aren't getting mad at the product on the back end. They are just totally satisfied across the board.
Yeah, it's great.
It is. All right, so the real reason I brought you here, I just needed somebody to talk to about this so bad. The Mandalorian. Such a great show. Mandalorian lore in general, Boba Fett, Jango Fett, all that. One of my, Boba Fett, I think, is everybody's favorite character from Return of the Jedi, like from the originals.
Yeah,
It's
he's
just
up
the best.
There. Yeah.
But season 2, coming in, we knew Ahsoka Tano was gonna be there. We knew there was gonna be some tie-ins from the cartoons, obviously.
Right.
So it's like, just excited from day one. Already knew what episode she was gonna hit. It's kind of like you knew it was coming, you just had to get there. But I think the show did such a wonderful job of still creating great, engaging episodes that told a bigger story, even though we all knew where they were going. We all knew what we were going towards. And oh man, that reveal, I had worries about Rosario Dawson, not as an actress. It's just, you have this voice that you know as Ahsoka. It's there. And all of a sudden it's not. she killed it. At least for me, I think she did just a phenomenal job. She looked the part, she sounded the part, her personality was great. And I don't know if she was doing the action sequences, but even like the movements, they did such a good job. And I know that comes from Dave Filoni directing the episode. Like that's his character, that's his baby.
Yeah, you know the guy. Say the
Yeah,
name.
yeah. But oh man, they like, I don't know. What did you think about Ahsoka? Like, what were your feelings?
So back when I used to do my personal podcast of Talking to Nobody, which was just me talking about Star Wars, a long time, I think it was during the summer, you had all of these leaks that came out, you know, Boba Fett, Bosk, Ahsoka Tano, Sabine Wren, you know, there's so many agents, so many like film people were talking about all these iconic characters essentially who are maybe not in the original trilogy or the prequels, but they're in Star Wars Clone Wars, they're in Star Wars Rebels, these animated versions of Star Wars that we love so much. And they're big characters that have had arcs with Ahsoka, with Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin, that are connected to the story, you know, of Clone Wars, and essentially that goes on and connects and webs on to the original trilogy. And I didn't think it was going to happen, because you look at The Mandalorian, the first season, and what does The Mandalorian do so well? It's its own thing. It's original. It's in a timeline after Return of the Jedi, before the Force Awakens. And that isn't really a timeline, even with the expanded universe, the new expanded universe, that isn't really talked about. You have Luke Skywalker, you have the Rise of Kylo Ren comics, you have the Aftermath books, and then you have like the Bo Dameron comics and a couple other things. But right after Return of the Jedi and everything else, you have no idea what the New Republic really is. And you see the Mandalorian, you see Din Djarin, and we love that character. So after the entire first season, no, I had no idea that Ahsoka Tano was going to be in here. I thought they were going to just keep it for its own thing. You have characters like, you know, Fennec Shand, you know, IG-11, you know, Kuiil, Cara Dune, original, completely new, never before seen, you know. And I was like, okay, so that's what they'll do. They'll just keep making original characters. But this season, you know, who's Bo-Katan? Who's Ahsoka Tano? Boba Fett's coming back, you know? And Ahsoka Tano, I felt like, live action, I thought she was perfect. I like, it's hard because I'm a Batman fan, and you know, who's one of the greatest villains, if not the greatest villain in like comic book history, is the Joker. Mark Hamill plays voice actors, and he's always the Joker. So when I first saw the Dark Knight, and you know, it was Heath Ledger, I was like, what the heck, where's Mark Hamill? You know, and then there's no Mark Hamill, and that's just something that I feel like a lot of people that watch animated series or comic books or animated movies kind of have to get used to a big actor or actress playing these characters that we've known so long. The voice actress, Ashley Eckstein, she's amazing. In fact, she's probably the Ahsoka that we've known in the animated series, but you need someone like Rosario to play that character, and she did phenomenal. There's a couple of minor issues that I had, like, you know, her mentrals were not really as good as I thought they would be, but that's me talking as a nerd, you know, like, oh well, they could have done better, you know. So but I thought it was perfect. Even some parts of that episode, she almost sounded like Ashley, like a couple times, and I job well done, you know. Let me see more. Let's go.
That was my biggest thing. It was like, we have this almost like box episode, and she's gone.
Yeah,
and we really don't know when we're going to see her again.
No idea.
That's what gets me. But speak on what you touched on right away is the period right after the fall at the Battle of Endor. Like there really isn't anything. If you read the books from the early 90s, you know, where there's three of them.
Heir to the Empire.
Yeah.
Heir to the Empire. Yeah.
You get a little bit of an idea, but they're retconning a lot of that stuff now, which I love. Like, they're bringing it back after saying that it isn't part of the story, but it's it's interesting to see them really expand outside of just that small, because in the books, if you've read them, which I know you have, but like if the audience has, it's still very focused like on the Skywalker clan. You're still you're still hanging out with Han, Leia, Chewie.
It's all Luke, Han, Leia,
like you haven't branched out much. So to see like this other whole end of the universe where if you're a huge nerd, you know there's stuff happening. If you're not a huge Star Wars nerd, it's just, oh cool, totally new story where we're not getting another Skywalker episode for once. But with sorry, I totally lost my train of thought there just because I was so excited. Grand Admiral Thrawn. So and again, if you read those books, you know he's like the big baddie. And a question I've had for years now is, we knew he was around after the fall of the Empire. We
Right.
know he was around before Rogue One. Now we can call it in the timeline. What
Mhm.
happened in
Yeah.
between? Where did he go? And Rebels, for those that don't know, did a really good job of showing him disappear and possibly be
Mhm.
defeated. But we
Mhm.
know he comes back. So it's
Yes.
by bringing in Bo-Katan, by bringing
Mm.
in Ahsoka Tano, I'm assuming, and you touched
Mhm.
on it, Sabine Wren's got to be there somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're gonna find out where all these characters went and what happened
Mhm.
in that time frame.
Yeah, 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 and it's a beautiful thing too because Thrawn is a character who I feel like a lot of Star Wars fans are not used to seeing. This is
Yep.
not a Force-sensitive wielding Jedi or Sith. This is a tactical, calculated, mastermind genius on the battlefield, and he's also an alien. He is a Chiss. He has blue skin, red eyes. He's not from this particular galaxy. He's from the unknown regions.
Yeah.
Places
Way
where
out there.
yeah, way out there, so far that literally like the emperor kind of sort of doesn't know where they are. And that's one of the most compelling things about this character, Thrawn. And we get in that Ahsoka Tano episode, which was even crazier because you would think that, of course, they stay to their context of the Mandalorian, but Ahsoka and Ezra, and excuse me, Ezra and Thrawn and Sabine Wren, they are all connected. This is the story of Star Wars Rebel, which is ultimately the chronological sequel to the Clone Wars animation. And if you haven't seen that, you definitely should because all of these stories, all of these characters are connected in some way. And Thrawn is a beast of a villain who is a bad guy, but not really a bad guy at the same time because he has a greater story. He has a greater objective, which is, of course, trying to save his race as well. And when we talk about Thrawn, there's just so much that I feel like the character brings to the table. And ultimately, I feel like aside Ahsoka, aside Revan, who's the video game character from Knights of the Old Republic, Thrawn is arguably the most popular expanded universe character outside of the movies, just because of his renown, like you said, from the books in the early 90s, which was arguably the trilogy that resurrected Star Wars after the movies came out because there was a dead time, the dark times, as a lot of fans call it, where there was no Star Wars content. I mean, they had the early comics of the Dark Empire, which is when
Yeah.
the Emperor first came back, which kind of was retold a little bit in The Rise of Skywalker. But Thrawn, I feel like, is also Star Wars. And we don't know where he went. We see at the end of Star Wars Rebels him and Ezra, the new kind of sort of Jedi that they took a big role in for that animated series. They kind of just go off into unknown regions of space, literally into hyperspace, and they are gone. And it's kind of weird. We see at the end of that episode with Ahsoka, she's like, "Where's your master? Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn in The Mandalorian?" And I wonder if that character even knows where Thrawn is, because I feel
Yeah.
like nobody knows where Thrawn is. I really feel like they're not going to be back in The Mandalorian. I think they're going to get their own live action thing, or maybe this is a continuation of a new animated series.
Oh, and see, I didn't even think about that, but that's actually a really good guess.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would love to see the purple space whales.
Yes,
Like,
yes, of course.
if they could just give me a 30-second recreation of that last scene from Rebels, but in real life, like, oh,
In live action.
blow the whole budget. Just blow the whole budget on it. Oh, that would be so
Yeah.
cool. It's kind of like the dragons
Fucking-
from Game of Thrones. Like, I just need them. I just need them.
Yeah. And it's funny too because they're hyperspace whales. These
Yeah.
are whale like octopus aliens that for some reason they can reach hyperspeed. Like that's what?
Yeah, that scene was just amazing. But then you get into why I would love another spin-off that focuses solely on those characters, because you get like the royal families from The Mandalorian, and you get like
Yes.
so cool stories that just really have never
Yeah.
been explored outside of that direct cartoon.
Oh
and,
yeah,
and,
no.
and there's a
nothing.
whole group of characters, especially like I want to say there's a couple strong like female leads
Mhm.
that would be like such a good replacement for like Leia, since we don't have a Leia
Yeah,
like with this new
yeah,
series, like there's just so many good characters that I think fandom
Yeah.
could really latch onto that they've just never gotten
Yeah.
a chance
Yeah.
with.
I mean, even Bo-Katan, there's so many people that have just
Yeah.
seen her for the first time in The Mandalorian. I mean, of course, people who have watched the Clone Wars, which is the animated series, and Star Wars Rebels, they know her. They know that she is the true Mandalorian. She's the true ruler of
Yep.
Mandalore. She's
Yep.
worthy of the dark saber. It was taken. That's not, that dark saber is hers. And you see her, and then of course Ahsoka Tano, who's literally one of the most fleshed out characters in all of Star Wars because she was supposed to be in Revenge of the Sith. She wasn't in it because they took her out of the script. And then, of course, they were brought in with George Lucas, who directed the movie for the Clone Wars animated series, and he helped Dave Filoni to flesh out that character even more. We get to see her now in live action and in Star Wars Rebels. There's a lot. Even Sabine Wren. Sabine Wren has such a great backstory, so much
Yes.
pain and suffering, because what a lot of people don't know is, their favorite character may be Boba Fett, maybe Jango Fett, but they don't know the history of Mandalore,
Nope.
because there's so much history of Mandalore throughout Clone Wars and the original trilogy, when they basically separated, how Civil War and all these things. And I feel like, yeah, go on, tell them, let them know. Why not just flesh out all these characters who have been in your universe for years, 20
Yeah.
plus years, 30 plus years. It's time to bring these expanded universe characters into live action, because a lot of these movie only fans have no idea the goodness that they're missing.
No. And any good sci-fi fan knows that Katie Sackhoff can
Yeah.
carry a series, no problem.
Yeah.
So just
yeah.
like
What the frack?
seriously, giving the owls, right?
Yes.
Yeah, just giving the owls their own series. Even like as soon as they landed and you saw like the tight knit mask, I was like,
Yeah.
like,
As
just
soon as
making
I saw
nerd
it,
noises.
yeah, that's it. Anybody that knows her from that entire insignia on her helm.
When I think too, Giancarlo Esposito, one of my favorite actors, plays such a good villain in just anything. Breaking
Yes.
Bad, just iconic.
Yeah.
I love his character in The Mandalorian, but I honestly feel like he would make a better antagonist for Katie Sackhoff and like that spinoff more so than The Mandalorian directly.
Yes.
Their beef just seems very only focused on Grogu, and there's so much more
Yes.
happening. I mean,
Yeah,
like you said,
no,
like he literally has her family's sword like on his hip.
Yeah. Mandalorian almost is essentially a side quest to the main quest that's happening off screen.
Yeah,
And
it really
it's
is.
sad to say that. Yeah, it's sad to say that, because you're just like, what are you talking about? Mandalorian's the best thing since the original trilogy. I mean, yeah, sure, okay, but at the same time, you guys are missing so much more.
So much. And with Thrawn too, you get opened up to so many new things, like the Selmari, for example. And I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but the Force repelling lizards, the coolest thing ever. For those that don't know, basically they find these special lizards that just live in trees, are chill as hell, and they create a bubble where like the Force just can't be manipulated.
Yeah, it's completely nullified.
Yep.
Completely.
So Homeboy doesn't want Vader messing with him and Force choking him out, so he just walks around with one on his back all the time. And it's the most badass move, because it's like he didn't do anything, but he just leveled the playing field. Like now you have to, and he's like 6 steps ahead of you in his genius head. So it's, I'm obsessed with this guy. He's like my favorite Star Wars character.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like people who don't know Thrawn need to understand, like, this was a man who was so powerful in his right mind, just on his not necessarily physically, of course, but he's a great soldier, of course. He's not a pushover. He is a genius. He is a tactical mastermind, and this person could not only talk and kind of like have sass toward Darth Vader, but also the Emperor himself on just his tactical mind, just his ability to talk and know more things than everybody else. And yeah, you talk about the Force sensitive nullifying lizards that literally are only alive on one planet, on the entire universe. And he goes and finds these things to get back at these Force sensitive, because that ultimately is the Force is kind of, I want to say, like his bane at times, because it's an enigma to him. He does not really understand it. But at the same time, it's not that he doesn't know it, because if you read the books, if you understand, he knows what it actually is. But in this universe, with someone like Anakin Skywalker, someone like Darth Vader, someone like Luke Skywalker he might meet, or Ahsoka Tano, who he's familiar with, I think that, maybe we can get a live action version of the Samari, maybe not, because we watched Star Wars Rebels, and when you first see him in his office inside the Chimera, he's got 2 statues of them on his mirror behind him. So I ultimately, that's a tribute to the old books, but I would love to see him, but I'm really not sure if we're going to see them, though, because George Lucas and David Filoni is working The Mandalorian. David Filoni works all of these things because he's the apprentice to George Lucas. He basically got taught by him personally. And what I think George doesn't like is, I don't think he likes when the Force kind of has some type of anti-force, the nullifying your powers don't exist anymore. Because if you read the old Empire series, and you have Heir to the Empire, and then you have the Ujan Vong, what happened with the Ujan Vong? Well, they were a race that came out from another galaxy, and the Jedi couldn't use their abilities against them. And then you have this with I always, it's such a hard name to pronounce.
It is.
The Samari.
Force
it's
lizards.
Yeah, and the force nullifying lizards, and it's almost the same thing. Because imagine that, it just boggles my mind how a movie only, I don't want to call them casual fans because I think it's insulting, but how a movie only fan would see someone like Luke Skywalker go out and try to do his stuff and lift up Thrawn, or force lightning him or something, and then nothing happened because he's got this little furry lizard on his shoulder. So I feel like it's one of it's like a baby Yoda. You don't know. It could be really good or it could be really bad. So I wonder what's going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of Baby Yoda, I feel weird calling him Grogu still. Like I just kind of like Baby Yoda better. And not that Grogu was a bad name. Like that was, but that, no. I think they did such a good job. We knew he's still a baby in their sense, but we also know he's at least 50 years old.
Yeah.
In the back of my head, I was like, okay, that means he lived through Order 66.
Yeah.
But never really thought about it. And then they actually, they say straight up, someone smuggled him out of the temple before everybody got slaughtered, which cool, I guess. But I love that they really spent time letting us know through Ahsoka that he actually was intelligent, like knew what was going on, and there wasn't like an infant, like definitely had an understanding of what was going on around him, what he was doing. He just wasn't communicating it. And that was really cool because it just made his personality so much bigger. You got so much more, like there's so much more there now. You like, oh shit, this guy's seen stuff. Like what has he seen? Who does he know? Did he ever meet Chewbacca? Did he ever meet Yoda? Like we don't know. There's so much more there now. But when they put him on the rock and he's in the not teleport, but it was like a natural satellite. It was like an amplifier.
Yeah, it's for Zoom call.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. The signal's going up and he passes out finally. What do you think, in your opinion, he saw? And do you think anybody's going to come looking for him?
Oh, such a good question. It's so great because, with all, I have a YouTube channel and, I do my reactions. But one of the things that I've always wanted to do, but my following isn't quite there yet, is I would love to have theory videos. But I don't like theory videos because when it comes to, say, the new sequel trilogy that came out, I think a lot of people got their hopes up for certain things to happen. And when those things did not happen, people were upset. Now, that's not to say, I want to talk about who we could have seen, because the Force is very, very complex, but it's also very simple the way it works, because he's basically projecting himself throughout the galaxy. And thank God the Emperor's not alive at this time. I mean, he could be alive, but I don't think he's really alive yet. But the Emperor absolutely would have sensed something like that. And that would have been really dangerous for someone like Grogu, because you would have sent your Inquisitors, you would have sent Vader, you would have sent someone terrible to go and pick that little Force sensitive up, but there's only a couple people that he could have reached out to. Ahsoka obviously being one of them, who was eliminated because we've already seen her, so she knows about Grogu. The only other person would have to be someone that's alive during Order 66. And you can think about characters that were alive in the old Legends canon before Disney got their rights to it. And you can think about people who are alive now in the new Disney canon. So we talk about Ezra Bridger from the Star Wars Rebels. Ezra Bridger could absolutely be someone. A lot of people were talking about Jedi Fallen Order's character, the video game from Respawn. His character, Cal Kestis, in the video game. I don't think that is a great answer, because I don't think they would want to put a character that they're making a video game for in a live action series that's way after their video games, because you're going to play that video game. There is no more incentive to play because you already know he's still alive. Yeah. So why would you do that? It would be great though, because Cameron, his actor, is literally like you could just put him in right there and he'll be perfect. Because I don't know if you played Jedi Fallen Order, but this guy, also the way he moves, his slashes in his lightsaber, that's all stuff that he learned when he was little. So that's him and how he fights. So he essentially is Cal Kestis. But I want to talk about other characters like Master K'Kruhk. Master K'Kruhk is a character that was seen in the old animated series of the original Clone Wars with the Powerpuff Girl animation, the Samurai Jack animation. He was someone who kind of got bodied by General Grievous, and he does this Force thing where his race kind of goes into hibernation when he gets beat up and he sleeps. And he's someone who survives like hundreds and hundreds of years after the Empire. He's with Kate Skywalker all the way down with Darth Krayt and everything. That's someone that could have picked up Grogu. Another person would be Quinlan Voss. Really great character. Yeah, really great character. Dark side, not really dark sided, but kind of sort of dark sided. Had a love interest with Asajj Ventress, who was also a character that was in Clone Wars. Very underrated character, by the way. I could see characters like that, but when this Mandalorian, I feel like, is doing a really good job of bringing back old characters, and I think you're gonna see Mace Windu. I don't want it to be Mace Windu because I don't like when they bring back characters so often. But Mace Windu just got bodied, and it's Samuel Jackson. Why not? Why not? But
and he's aged enough now that like it would look appropriate.
Oh yeah, easily. They could do so much with him. His hands gone, his eyes are all messed up. Shocked by Force lightning from the Emperor. That's a big resume there, fam.
Yeah, yeah. He's definitely the prediction that I've seen the most, and I think just makes the most sense with what they're doing. But I'm with you, like, and nothing against him. I love Samuel L. Jackson, but that just feels like they're just trying to pull in more like mainstream.
Yeah, exactly. Like and I think that's why, because who I really want to see is I don't think who I really think actually saved him was Jocasta Nu, who was the librarian Jedi that you saw maybe like an instant in Attack of the Clones, where Obi-Wan Kenobi is looking for Kamino, and she's like, "Yo, if it's not in the Jedi archives, it doesn't exist." That lady she survived after Order 66. She was hiding inside the Jedi Temple the entire time. She fights Vader later on, which is really crazy. I think she's definitely someone who could have picked up Grogu, throw him out there. Man, but I could talk all day because there's so many Jedi, like Shaak Ti. Like, I don't want Shaak Ti to be dead. She could be another character, very powerful master. Easily could have survived that long because she is just like Ahsoka's race. She is Togrutan. They last a very long time, 150, 200 years. So it's up in the air.
Yeah, there really is just so many options. And what I thought was really cool, and I probably just a bit of fan service at the end there, but they made the Dark Troopers or whatever look so much like the Shock Dark Troopers that we know and love. Like it was just a simple like costume design basically, but I loved it. Like they looked clean, they looked good. And that's a story they haven't even explored yet. They just keep alluding to these super soldiers, but they've given us nothing.
Nothing. You have no idea. These movie only fans have no idea what they're looking at. They have no idea. They do not understand the history, especially with like the Death Troopers showing up after Rogue One when they were after the first Death Star blew up, which is ultimately where they all died.
Yep.
And then then Moff Gideon comes in and he's like Thrawn. He's got his own brigade and everything. That's why I love The Mandalorian, because it's made by fans. And it's made by fans who know their ish. And I think that's why it's doing so well.
Yeah, they do just enough job of staying within the mainstream canon to really pull in just the everyday fan. And then there's just these little things sprinkled in for like the uber nerds. And I love it. And you're right. It's because true fans are making the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just the perfect combination of, I usually talk about this on my YouTube channel all the time. It's like the Mandalorian and their entire staff, their dev team, their artists, and their directors. It is a blueprint, a resume for how to make Star Wars. You have Jon Favreau, who has the experience of a seasoned director, and you have David Filoni, who has literally been there for Star Wars since Revenge of the Sith, made Clone Wars, made Star Wars Rebels, and he's doing so good because he was taught by George Lucas. He's the guy you keep on there so you don't mess up lore, so you understand how everything works. So if you're gonna retcon something, it's gotta make sense. This is we fly now. They fly now. And that's not to shoot anything at the sequels. I like the sequels. I'm just saying, like this is the way it should be done.
That the sequels sit somewhere for me as like they're good, entertaining movies, but like the more I think about it, the more I break them down and start to hate them. So I just leave it alone. I'm like, yep, I enjoyed watching that movie. It was there. Like. That
Yeah,
was
and
that.
I feel like that's just how it is, you know. And I remember growing up with the prequels, and Revenge of the Sith is my favorite Star Wars of all time. I don't care. I don't care. That's how it is. Even when I go back and watch Attack of the Clones and the Phantom Menace, like I love it. I don't care.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. Like I just don't care about these critiques. And the sequel trilogy is kind of the same because you can sit here and you can harp on hate all day, and that's because we live in social media. When someone tweets out something and someone has a hot take, people they retweet it, and everybody has their mind made up right there. They
Yep.
don't think for themselves. They won't even do their due diligence of research, so it's just bad because this person said so.
Yep.
And that, I feel like, ultimately is the downfall. And when things are just not as good as it should be, or someone comes out and says, well, you know what, they never wanted me to do the job, and that's there's so many complicated things making things worse than they need to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's why so many people are against these new things, because they're hopped up on nostalgia. They don't want something new, and I think that ultimately means defeat when something is not as good as it should be.
You want your member berries. But
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, I think for the sequels, the probably my only something I would point out was probably like the biggest overall issue is just too many hands in the cookie jar and too many people trying to make it perfect. If you would have let somebody like Favreau or Filoni do it, I think it would have just been a lot more coherent across the board, like from 1 to 2 to 3, and just told like a more succinct story maybe. But like they were still very entertaining movies, and I think at least because we're almost the same age. I'm 33. We grew up with the re-release of the original trilogy coming out in theaters with the 4 extra minutes of action. And my dad was, I can't even tell you how excited my dad was to take me to those. It was like he was living his childhood all over again, getting to show me his favorite things, and that was like our thing. So then the prequels came out, and I remember Phantom Menace was my first midnight show that I stood in line to go to with my dad in like 6th grade. Like that was the coolest thing ever. So it's like it didn't even matter that yes, dude. It didn't even matter that they were like introducing midichlorians and all this stuff, because it was just like I had Star Wars again. I had a new Star Wars story.
This was your personal trilogy.
Yes.
And I feel like that's how it is for kids nowadays, because I watch Star Wars every day, bro. I do. I'm sorry, bro. That's what I do, and I watch it a lot. I always bring in people to watch the new trilogy, and every time I show kids who are young with the new trilogy, like my girlfriend's got like so many freaking cousins, and they're always over and everything, so we're all watching it, and they love it. They love so much. They love Ray. Oh my god, they're in love with Finn. They love Finn so freaking much, but then so like when I see them, it's like the critique about Luke Skywalker not freaking closing his fists and destroying all of Crate and everything. At the end of the day, you know what, they love it. It's okay, so.
It brought in a whole new audience and kept it going. It makes it that much easier for us to try to introduce it to a new what is generation? I was like, what is the word I'm looking for?
Yes. And that's what Star Wars is about. It's about family. It's about generational storytelling. And god dang it, I'm going to say it here. That is what the sequel trilogy did. That's what it's supposed to do. That's why it's Star Wars. There you go.
There we go. You heard it here first. And I agree, honestly. I'm going to get so much shit for that. So one of the characters that I think they've been teasing a little bit with all of this, and I would kill to see, and I want your opinion. Do you think Starkiller is going to make an appearance at some point?
It's so funny because Sam Witwer has already been inside the series with the with I think it was the first episode with the Marshal. He's literally a side character.
As soon as I saw him, I was like,
yeah, it's so funny because when I watch my reactions, I watch it on a tiny monitor, so I can't see him until I watch it on the big 4K TV, and I was like, oh frick, I'm a fraud, So and I'm watching it, and it could be a really big thing, because if you watch Clone Wars and you do a lot of behind the scenes stuff, what characters were supposed to be in Clone Wars animated series? It was supposed to be Darth Revan and Darth Bane, like the actual, not just the names, of course. These are supposed to be the people, the Knights of the Old Republic and the Revan, like his actual appearance from the game, Darth Bane's actual appearance from the novels, and then George Lucas and David Filoni decided just at the last second not to put him in. And you have a character, like Starkiller, who at times was so incredibly overpowered, but because he was in a video game, and you read the novels, he's not really as powerful as people really perceive him to be, especially the one part, this guy, this Star Killer guy, this Force sensitive guy who is so strong, he's whooping Darth Vader's butt and taking it to the Emperor. He takes down the Star Destroyer in the video game. That's like one of the, I think that's probably the most notable levels of the entire game. Is like this guy is taking this Star Destroyer, we know, with his fist in the Force. But when you do your due diligence and you're reading the novel, it's not really like that. He's more, it's already going down, it's crashing. He's just guiding it down, you know? And he was actually supposed to be in Star Wars Rebels, believe it or not, and they decided not to put him in. So it's crazy because this character is getting closer and closer to his birth in the new canon. I guarantee you, if he is there, I don't think he's going to be as powerful as people perceive him. Imagine if Grogu reaches out and it's Star Killer.
That's what I'm saying. That would just be the coolest. He shows up and he's like, "What the hell is this?" And
that would
like,
be
well, who
too
are
much
you?
for me. Yeah, that would be so much for me because not only is Star Killer just so compelling and interesting, he's enigmatic, obviously, to the movie fan base because they've never seen him, never played the video games of this character. But Sam Witwer has been Star Wars for so long. He's Darth Maul. He's the Emperor. He's played so many voices of characters in Clone Wars, the animated series, and Star Wars Rebels. And of course, he is the body, he is the voice of Star Killer, the actual character. And it's right there. You know, they could do it if they wanted to.
Yeah, they really could. And I agree with you. I think bringing him down to Anakin on steroids type level, because you have the backstory that he doesn't know how to control all this. This is a dude that was just taken and forced to do exactly what Vader said and nothing else. He just reacts randomly. He might sense something new in the Force and just be like, "Oh, what's that?"
Yeah, I could even see Galen Merrick, and that is his clone. You know, and that would see, that would even make more sense because you already have cloning, you already have Grogu, you already have Dr. Pershing, who's trying to figure out, was he making Snoke? Is he making the Emperor? You know, what is this going on? So, you know, Galen Merrick could obviously be, hey, you know, I was this lab rat and I escaped from Vader and the Emperor. Now I'm just doing my own thing and I heard someone call it to the Force. Why not, you know?
I would love that. I'm here for that one. That's a good one. Speaking of Dr. Pershing, excuse me, brand new character. We don't really know much about him.
Yeah, one of the only characters out of like 3 that have glasses in the Star Wars universe.
You would notice that.
Yeah. But no, George Lucas does not like underwear and he does not like glasses in the Star Wars universe and toilets. He's like really big on it. That was not supposed to be a thing.
They don't have those in space.
No. Yeah, that's his thing. That's his thing. He literally says that.
Fair, I guess. But what? And you touched on it already, and I really hope that they aren't tying that to the whole clone thing with the Emperor. Like, I just leave those separate. But what do you think? Like, where is he coming from? Is the ultimate goal just these like clone troopers, or is there like something bigger going here? Are they trying to bring Vader back, or like something else?
Well, I think there's 2 things because it wouldn't make sense to me if like he's serving Grand Admiral Thrawn. You know, Moff Gideon does not seem like that type of person. Moff Gideon seems like this is for the Empire. I am going to do what I can to make sure Dr. Pershing gets any type of donor, whatever, to make sure I get midi-chlorians inside my body. And I feel like you look at him and his appearance. His armor is very similar to Darth Vader's. Maybe he's already tested. He has a dark saber. That is a lightsaber. You know how many non-Force sensitive have wielded a lightsaber outside Han Solo? Or, you know, well, Finn is Force sensitive now, but there isn't many. There's maybe like 2 or 3. Why is this man holding a dark saber? How did he get it from Bo-Katan? I think this man is, I don't think he's Force sensitive, but I think he's on the level of like Chirrut Inua, where he's trying to get into this and put put midi-chlorians inside his own body so he can bring back the Empire himself.
Yeah, that's actually a really good. I could dig that, and I just love him as a bad guy, and he gives off such hardcore Darth Vader vibes. You can tell that he like really looked up to him. But I mean, all things considered, because Grand Admiral Thrawn gave himself that title.
Yes.
Technically speaking, aren't him and Moff Gideon both just Warlord Moffs? Like they're technically on the same level?
So actually, I think in the newest, one of the newest novels, not the Chiss Ascendancy one where he had just came out with, or Chaos Rising that Timothy Zahn came out, who was the writer of all the old Thrawn novels. The one before that, which I believe is Treason, think, and I could be totally wrong because there's so much Star Wars knowledge. Sometimes I have to delete stuff in my head. But I believe he was actually brought up to Grand Admiral during that time because there was Grand Moff Tarkin. There was this entire meeting, and the Director Krennic was a part of it. And Director Krennic was really giving Thrawn a terrible issue because Thrawn wanted his defenders to be a part of this brand new thing, but Dr. Krennic was trying to, convince the Emperor of the Death Star project, and as we all know, he did. And so I think during that time, Moff Tarkin was trying to get Thrawn on his side. So it was kind of like the Emperor and Dr. Krennic versus Thrawn and Moff Tarkin. And I think during that time, that's when he was kind of upgraded to Grand Admiral, but I could be totally wrong. But yeah, it's such a weird thing that ultimately the Empire, the shards of the Empire, the remnants of the Empire, which is what they are after Return of the Jedi, because they're struggling. The New Republic has been basically established, and everyone now, including Moff Gideon, they're kind of warlords. Yeah, they're holding on to whatever they have left. And you see Moff Gideon, he doesn't have a Star Destroyer. He's got a Star Cruiser.
Mm-hmm.
This is a two-door, in the
he's got
SUV.
the coupe.
Yeah, dude, he's got the coupe. They're struggling. And what I love so much too is my girlfriend was talking about, wait, what about these stormtroopers? These are people that they don't have, they've never had parents, they've been abducted. And like, well, yes, but you have to understand too, everybody that's in the Empire right now, they are not good people.
No.
And it's sad too, because you have someone like Admiral Sloane from the Aftermath books, who is like probably one of the greatest female officers in the Empire. And she's not evil. Well, she just believes in that the Empire is the best course of action to keep peace and stability inside the galaxy. But someone like Moff Gideon, he's evil. His entire battalion, Death Troopers and Stormtroopers, they're all evil, So,
yeah, those are the dregs that hung around because they liked what they were doing, not because they were just supporting the Empire.
Yeah, they are very big. They're very elitist. They only speak Basic, which is the version of English. That's why you see no aliens inside the Empire. Is because they're racist. They like legitimately like racist.
Yeah.
So it's a big thing.
One last big, obviously huge guy we got to talk about from last week's episode, Boba Fett.
Yeah.
We knew he was coming from, I think it was episode 2, or 1 even. It was the one with Cobb Vanth. You see him at the end.
Yes.
You recognize him right away. So then you Google who directs all the episodes.
Yeah.
Turns out he directs episode 6. So you're like, okay, well, we know what's happening now. But man, he looked rough.
Yes.
Years on Tatooine have not been good to our boy.
No. And I feel like that's the beauty of it, because this is probably gonna be the last question. I gotta head out after this.
Yep.
But Boba Fett is one of those characters who's, he's a phasma. And what I mean by that, he's a character who didn't get his entire potential filled out and fleshed out in the original trilogy. He's got one really great part, and that's in Empire Strikes Back, when he's walking across. Luke Skywalker sees him, and then he turns back and shoots Luke Skywalker. And Luke Skywalker's like, whoa, what the hell happened? And I feel like a lot of people overlook that scene because you don't understand how good Boba Fett is. Like, this man literally understood that a Jedi was sneaking up on him, and then shot back at the Jedi and put him on blast. That's huge. That is massive. And you don't see anything else from him aside him falling to the Sarlacc pit. So we got
comically.
Yeah. And it's sad too, because George Lucas actually regrets doing that. If he said if I knew Boba Fett was going to be this big, I would have never killed him off like that, And now we have 5-6 years after Return of the Jedi. So it's like 35 plus years since Return of the Jedi. And the first time we've seen Boba Fett on screen. And last time we saw him was blown up. Jabba Hutt's sail barge is blown up. This Tatooine, this is a dune sea. You're gonna die out there. You got sand demons. You got Sarlacc. You got crate dragons. You got Tusken Raiders. Yeah. And Boba Fett falls into that Sarlacc pit, and eventually he does climb out. And that's how it was in the old legends. He did climb out. I think it took him about 2 or 3 times. Then he was left for dead until his old bounty hunter buddy Dengar finds him. And I don't know if they're going to keep doing that. It doesn't seem like they're going to do that, because Boba Fett has kind of lived amongst the Tusken Raiders. That's what it seems like that he's been doing, is hanging out on Tatooine, because last season we saw with the Fennec Shan episode when they're back on Tatooine, we saw those boots, we saw that cape. Who's picking it up? Well, we know now it was Boba Fett saving her life. And Boba Fett is such a huge character, and I'm kind of like dumbfounded, bewildered that he's in this because he's bigger than the Mandalorian. This is arguably the biggest character that's been in the Mandalorian. This is Boba freaking Fett. You know, this is the Fett man, and I hope that he doesn't overshadow Din Djarin because I love the Mandalorian. But if you put too much Boba Fett, then I feel like it's really going to outcast the Mandalorian, and it's no longer going to be the Mandalorian. It's going to be Boba Fett, you know?
Yeah, and that's I agree with you. I love him, and I love what they've done with the series as a whole, like going back and retconning his voice into the old movies and stuff. Like they've done such a good job. Yeah, it's amazing work. But I agree. I think they need to go on this mission with him, bust Bill Burr out of the space jail, but then like they need to get rid of him for a while because even just being there and being like the surly, quiet guy, it completely takes away from everything we're trying to get out of Din Djarin right now. And we're really starting to get some actual like character development from him, and I would hate to see that go by the wayside just for fan service. As much as I love Boba Fett.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think how they're using him right now is very like honestly, it's crazy because if you read the comics, especially the new comics, Boba Fett is by far one of the most violent people in the Star Wars universe. Like this man, he almost takes pleasure in killing people, and it's terrifying because especially in the Bounty Hunter comic books, like he has some of the most gruesome deaths that I've seen. He kills people in like crazy ways, and I'm not just saying it to say it. Like no, like you gotta look and see what he does to people when his bounty hunter and stuff because he's only for himself. And when he says something at the end, it's like no, hey. We're pretty honorable. We're gonna help you get your kid back. All right, how you think about that? That sounds great. So I don't know how they're gonna do it, but either way, I'm very excited. And the show is just so good. Every week it gets better and better. So I'm just gonna shut my mouth and watch it and enjoy it.
Exactly. Well, that's a great place to wrap up. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about this. I think we definitely need to do this again after the finale because we have enough to talk about for sure. Is there anything you want to plug at all?
No, I mean, if you want a nerd that talks about Star Wars all day and is a social media guy, sure, I guess follow me on Twitter, follow me on YouTube. I make some silly TikToks. Other than that, thanks so much, Senpai Nick, bro.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. You have a great night.
Yeah, you too, fam.
Thanks, man. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify. We'll be available on iTunes soon. Tune in next week for another great episode. Thanks.